Oh man, Marvel fans, we just got a crazy update about Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom. I mean, we already know that Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom is maybe one of the craziest things that Marvel Studios has ever done. And what exactly it means and how it will shape the story of the next two Avengers movies is the #1 mystery out there right now within the fandom. It's like the #1 thing that fans want to know about. And this update that we just got about Marvel's plan for RDJ's Doctor Doom will absolutely change the way that you look at this casting. Now, I think this is awesome. I'm super excited for this, but I will also admit that a lot of fans are confused by this update. And from what I have seen, there is a portion of the fan base that doesn't like this news.
Here we go.
In this video, I'll explain the new report. Then I'll explain why this report is confusing and shocking to the Marvel fans. And then I will explain what is actually going on so that nobody is really confused about this.
Makes sense.
So this all has to do with a scoop from My Time to Shine. Hello. She just revealed yesterday on Twitter that Marvel Studios plans to have RDJ as Doctor Doom even after Avengers Secret Wars.
What?
Here's the tweet right here. She says, I hear Marvel wants RDJ to stick around as Doom after Secret Wars. And she has the crying face emoji. So she is saying she hears Marvel wants RDJ Doctor Doom to stick around after Secret Wars. Now, this is something that I said was very possible. And I think I know what Kevin Feige is actually going to do here. But I'm going to save that for later on in the video. Let's first discuss why this news is so shocking to so many Marvel fans. This has many people extremely confused and shocked. Many Marvel fans speculated that RDJ as Doctor Doom was just something for the next few Avengers movies. I think one of the big hangups here is that people are envisioning this RDJ Doctor Doom thing as a temporary thing, as a gimmick. But the truth is, Marvel Studios sees Robert Downey Jr. as the Doctor Doom, as the definitive Doctor Doom. In fact, I remember Marvel insider Daniel RPK talking about this very issue a couple of months ago. At the time, Daniel reported that Marvel Studios was seeing RDJ as the definitive Doctor Doom, and therefore the studio was very unlikely to recast the character after Avengers Secret Wars. Daniel went on to speculate that this would mean a complete lack of Doctor Doom in the MCU moving forward from Secret Wars. And his rationale was that they wouldn't do a recast, and you were super unlikely to see RDJ as Doctor Doom in the MCU after he was just the big bad of the last two Avengers movies. And I understand that logic. It would be like defeating Thanos at the end of Endgame, and then in Spider-Man No Way Home, Thanos is just somewhere out there in the galaxy still. Like, we're just like, oh yeah, but he's still around. And the thing is, RDJ as Victor Von Doom is weird. Everyone in the world knows that this guy played the character of Tony Stark. Like, this is one of the most famous characters in all of pop culture, and what Robert Downey Jr. did in his performance was legendary stuff. When he pulled that mask back on stage at San Diego Comic-Con last year, everyone just assumed he was playing a variant of Tony Stark because, again, he is so well known for being the character of Tony Stark. But the thing is, every single indication that we have gotten from Marvel Studios, from different insiders, says that he will not be a Tony Stark variant. We've got comments from the Russo brothers. We've got comments from Robert Downey Jr. himself, and he speaks to the pitch that he made and to Kevin Feige's reaction to him being Victor Von Doom. We've got various comments from insiders that we talk about often on this channel. And so again, every single piece of information from reliable sources is indicating that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Victor Von Doom. He's the Victor Von Doom, the definitive Victor Von Doom of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is not a Tony Stark variant. He is not some weird body swap temporary version of Doctor Doom that then they will recast in the soft reboot. He is Doctor Doom. I mean, even Daniel's comments about Doom are rooted in his knowledge that Marvel sees RDJ as the Doctor Doom. Like, the whole reason Daniel was like, oh yeah, you're not going to see a new version of Doom. You're not going to see Doom probably because it would have to be Robert Downey Jr. and they're not just going to pay that man to pop up. All the things he said were rooted in the concept that Robert Downey Jr. is the definitive Doctor Doom, and we know Kevin Feige doesn't like to recast when you have a definitive actor playing a definitive character. So what exactly is going on here? Well, there are really only two options. Option number one is that the definitive MCU Tony Stark and the definitive Doctor Doom both look exactly the same. And this would be either the weirdest coincidence ever, or they are somehow twin brothers or clones or some other explanation. And I think all of those options are terrible. Like, can you imagine if that's really what it is? Like, they want to play off of the fact that these heroes from Earth 616 will see the face of the guy they idolize, of the guy they thought was the most heroic dude from the Infinity Saga. And the only reason that they're seeing his face is because randomly Victor Von Doom looks exactly like Tony Stark. Yeah, that sounds awful. And the second option, and the one that I believe Marvel is doing, is that Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark was never actually Tony Stark. Now, hold on, don't freak out, don't leave the video, just let me explain. Like, I understand that the first time you hear that theory, it sounds ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Like, what do you mean Robert Downey Jr. was never Tony Stark? That's like literally the whole point of the first 10 years of Marvel. And it's very hard to imagine that Marvel Studios would want to do this big of a retcon, right? That they would want to recontextualize the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I would like to point out that there's some crazy idea that Steve McFeely had that activated the entire creative team of the Russo brothers to want to make this movie. And I'd like to point out that Marvel Studios initially rejected this pitch from the Russo brothers, and from what we understand, they eventually accepted it, and now Secret Wars is being completely rewritten. And it also seems like Doomsday is going to be super different than what the Kang Dynasty was going to be. Now, I have made in-depth videos breaking down this theory, one of which I will link in the comment section below. And I'm actually working on a new video that explains even more of the evidence, because since I made some of those big videos, a lot of stuff has come out from like the Russos or insiders, and it literally all fits within this theory that I have. But for now, let me give you the broad strokes of what this theory is. Basically, we already know that the Sacred Timeline was created after a multiversal war, and that He Who Remains created the TVA to make the entire timeline go exactly the way that he wanted. Therefore, He Who Remains likely changed the timeline, and in my theory, one of the changes he made was to take Victor Von Doom and make him be adopted by Howard Stark and his wife. And again, there's a ton of evidence that this is actually the plan, but I'll save that for the video and the new video that I'm doing. But basically, my theory is that Robert Downey Jr., like that guy, the person that looks like RDJ, that's actually Victor Von Doom. And the guy that we saw become Tony Stark throughout the Infinity Saga all the way to Endgame, that guy was a Victor Von Doom variant that was adopted by the Starks and somehow became incredibly heroic. So basically, if that theory is true, this would allow Marvel Studios to actually recast Iron Man in the soft reboot. And then we'd look back to the RDJ version of Iron Man as actually an Iron Man that was Doom. And it would allow for Marvel Studios to keep Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom in the MCU, as that is really his true form within the multiverse. And if I'm right, it means that after Doomsday, we're going to know that the reason that Victor Von Doom looks exactly like Tony Stark from the Infinity Saga is because the person we thought was Tony was actually a Von Doom variant the whole time. And so even if my theory is not exactly correct, the one thing we can take away from this new report from Shine and a lot of the other reports, like the stuff that Daniel discussed months ago, is that Robert Downey Jr. is playing the definitive Victor Von Doom. And what the report from Shine means is that Victor Von Doom will not just be killed at the end of Secret Wars. And that makes perfect sense, because in the comics, Victor isn't just killed after Secret Wars. In every single version of the Secret Wars story, something crazy happens on literally a secret world, this war that is detached from the main canon and the main books and Earth 616. And then after that war, everything just returns back to status quo. Now, in the Jonathan Hickman version of Secret Wars, Doctor Doom technically comes back and then becomes a hero, because Doom actually remembers a lot of the stuff from Battleworld, his conflict with Reed Richards, his attempt to try to save everything, and the fact that Reed Richards actually did save everything in a better way than even Victor could. And Victor somewhat becomes appreciative of this and actually tries to become a hero. He ends up actually becoming Iron Man for a while, ironically, which would be wild if the MCU did. But what I think Marvel's going to do is keep Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom and use him more like like Marvel Comics has been using him for like the past 5 years. That is to say, he's always somewhere. He's the leader of Latveria. He's always up to some kind of a scheme or a plan. And very often, individual stories will take a character to Latveria or have an interaction with Doctor Doom out in the wild, and it's always a really big freaking deal. But I don't expect Doctor Doom to just be popping up in all sorts of movies, etc., etc. But I do think in the next big event that Marvel does, which is potentially looking to be fighting against Annihilus, perhaps Celestials and Judgment Day and stuff with the mutants, maybe even Avengers versus X-Men, I think any one of those big scale stories, they still want to have Doctor Doom, especially if he becomes as popular as I think he's going to be after Secret Wars. Marvel still wants that character to be available to be used in the MCU. Because you have to remember, one of the promises of Secret Wars and then the soft reboot for the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a more traditional Marvel universe. I mean, Feige wants the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Avengers, Spider-Man. He wants everybody just in the same universe, the way that the MCU would have been if Marvel didn't sell off all their licenses in the 90s. And if you want a more traditional Marvel universe, one that's more like Marvel Comics, then you want Doctor Doom around. Like, you don't want to just sideline him, and you definitely don't want to kill him and have him unavailable for big cool moments, which, like, dude, I'm telling you, in Marvel Comics, Doom pops up here and there, and it's always epic. So this news is crazy. I understand it's shocking to a lot of people. People don't understand it. I try to do my best in this video to explain what's really going on. I think my theory is correct, and I'm doing more videos to explain it. But even if my theory is not correct, the one thing it feels like we know for certain is that RDJ is Victor Von Doom. He's not a placeholder. He's not some weird Stark thing that then will be recast afterwards. Like, no, he's Doctor Doom. And so you kind of have to like understand that to understand all this news and to truly, I think, appreciate what is going on. Let me know what you think about all that and more in the comment section below. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next